And this is Mayor Ted Wheeler, who has proclaimed today the Vanport Day of Remembrance, marking 69 years since a flood washed away Oregon's second largest city at the time, which was located in what we refer to now basically as Delta Park, that low-lying area that has the soccer fields and Heron Lakes golf course and Portland Meadows off of I-5 headed north out of town. And joining us from Portland Community College is Professor James Harrison. Thank you for being here. And we're going to be talking about flood history. And then Damaris Webb, who's co-founder of the Vanport Mosaic and Vanport Mosaic Festival. Thank you for being here, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
So this is a subject near and dear to my heart. Vanport, the most horrific flood this area has seen, certainly in modern times. And we'll start with you, Professor Harrison. How many people are we talking about that lost their lives or were displaced because of this flood back in 1948?
The approximate population in 1948 was about 18,700. There are different numbers depending on who you look at because Vanport existed between the two censuses, 1940 and 1950, and so we deal with estimates. So about 18,700 lived there and were displaced. In terms of how many died, the figure we have for those who are recovered is 17. In terms of how many actually died, we don't know.
Go ahead.
I'm curious, when you look at the history, was there not much warning?
Well, there's actually about a week's warning that the waters were going to rise. However, the night before the flood, notes were slipped under people's doors that said, "Don't worry, the dikes will hold." And I think this is based on the fact that in 1946, the flood waters had also risen very high and had not flooded the area. And so the Corps of Engineers thought it's not going to happen. They also thought that the flood would reach its height on Tuesday. And
this is water from the Columbia, correct?
This is water from the Columbia, and that people would have enough time to leave if the dikes were going to break.
And Damaris, I know you have dedicated so much of your life and your efforts as an artist to trying to make sure people remember this. What is it about your effort in terms of how do you organize this?
Right, and I do also want to note that many people, I mean, the name Vanport Mosaic is that because there's a mosaic of people who have been doing this and people who have been remembering, telling these stories before the Vanport Mosaic came into existence. But the legacy of the city of Vanport, which I'm sure James will talk a little bit more about as well, has reverberations into the city today, clearly, and the issues of home, displacement, and community that Vanport really helps us dig into are still clearly issues that the whole country and the city of Portland are facing. I mean, the city of Vanport was built because there was not enough housing.
Well, it was interesting. It seems like the answer to all this, number one, was they didn't rebuild housing in that area, correct?
That is correct. Even though Edgar Kaiser wanted it to be rebuilt. In fact, he wanted a village in which there would be housing and light industry so people could walk to work. President Harry Truman came, and as you mentioned, it was not only one of the worst disasters, it was the worst weather disaster in the United States in 1948. And so it had national and international news. President Truman came, and he said we should rebuild it. However, the city fathers at that time did not want it rebuilt. They wanted Vanport essentially gone and erased, which is part of the reason that so few people know about Vanport today.
Well, I guess the engineering part of the story since then has to be considered somewhat of a success because we haven't had the flooding on the Columbia of that magnitude since then. So that's at least a good news part of the story.
Something was learned. And what about the ongoing effort to educate people? Where can you find out more?
You can find out more at vanportmosaic.org. We have a number of resources of other entities that are doing work as well as ourselves. And we have an annual festival that's just concluded this year, Memorial Day weekend. But we do still have some work next week that you can catch at the Interstate Firehouse Cultural Center, 2 new plays about Hurricane Katrina and its effect and legacy, which is a clear reverberation of Vanport, and an exhibit about the city of Vanport.
And again, that's Vanport, A Story Lived, A Story Told, the exhibit at the Firehouse, the Interstate Firehouse Cultural Center, which runs through June 4th. It's a big part of our of our
city's
history,
history,
and
yeah.
important not to forget. It wasn't that long ago, 1948.
Yeah, and we're so grateful to the former residents who are still with us and the stories that they're sharing, because it's their lived experience that we're engaging with.
Don't want that history to be lost.
Yeah.
Not
Thanks
at
to
all.
both of you for your continued work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.